Hello everybody, welcome back to From Rhythm to Algorithm. We can continue on with our derivation. What is sensorality? What is a sensor? Looking to finalize, to stabilize a definition. How is censorship naturally defined? So at the front of my mind, syllability, elementality. Again, the natural presentation. What is syllability? The ability to be a syllable. So what is a syllable? And do letters have spelling? Kind of overarching, mathematically, logically, again, what is base to range? What is a function? But again, our fundamental element of linguistics, our fundamental unit of meaning is a syllable. What is sound to meaning? Again, can you make sound that does not have meaning? Right? Consider the following sound. Ah. Does that sound have meaning? Is that sound a syllable? And so, how about that sound? I just laughed a little bit. I was trying to not chuckle, but his laughter, right? Is all sound? Does all sound have meaning? Is all sound a syllable? And so, is moaning or is laughter, right? Syllability. Again, that is what is at the forefront of my mind. And then additionally, elementality. Right? Fundamentally, in the physical world, we have elementality as, wait for it, elements, but even more fundamental than that, again, the electron, this fundamental dynamic. Let's say it's a point particle, it's not. Again, all mass is a stabilized dynamic of charge, and we have physical limits of interaction. And so, but right, is an electron an element? And we've asked that directly. But again, when we're saying elementality, the essence, the quality of an element, this mass, this finite density that occupies space is an appropriate verbiage there, right? Fermions cannot stack on one another. When you look at text or font on a screen, your eyes immediately start to align the symmetry. It's pretty much what design is for all menus, for all billboards, for any presentation of font. And so then we take this concept of syllability, which is again typically the sound, and again the sound comes from movement. But how do we represent syllables with letters? So then we've talked about elementality as, again, how much space a letter takes up on your screen. And so those symmetries are very apparent. And again, what is sound to syllable? Syllables is fundamental, this irreducible unit of meaning. A, B, C, D, those are letters. And then do we have spellings to letters? Right, I watch my parents play Scrabble. A lot of people play Scrabble. Again, we have this empirical evidence of a Scrabble dictionary, of an Oxford dictionary, of a frequency dictionary. And it's the evidence of syllability, another proliferation of, hey, dictionary's dictionary, this is this is this, that is that. And it's just that proliferation where it's like, we have these different types of dictionaries, we have these different adjectives for energy, and it's just not well defined. What is fundamental is syllability, the relationship of sound and then associated to letters, which is this emergent property or system of linguistics. How do we represent meaning? We've had a ton of oral history, then we start writing things down. All of recorded history, right? Then we even said, like, what is recorded history? Oral tradition or stuff written down. But we've always lived in a sufficiently written down society. But that's worth pointing out historically. But again, syllability and elementality, the physical elementality of discrete things limits how language can be represented, specifically with letters. Again, letters are shapes, geometric objects. So elementality, syllability, and do letters have spelling? More in this mathematical, what is a function, what is base to range? Again, you have to have consistency. If you put one number, if you put 2 into a function, it has to give you something consistent for the output. You can have the same output, but the base, what you do to the base element or to the input has to be consistent for it to be a function. And so, again, that type of this inversion, this preservation of inversion, this chirality in linguistics, right? What is a letter to a word? What is a letter to a syllable? What is this containment, right? Words contain letters. What is this direct, unique chronology so we don't have tautology in the actual structuring of what is a word, right? And so that is what is at the front of our mind, a lot of steps moving along. Is prejudice rejuvenating? Direct iteration, rejuvenation invigorates. Sensorality is invigorality. Natural definition, direct iteration. Is invigoration algorithmic? Invigoration is sensational. Appreciation is refreshing. Sensorality es fresco. Are refreshments refreshing? What is the chronology of cause and effect? So again, overall for this definition, we need our conceptualizations in the right order, meaning chronologically motivated. And again, it's not like, again, the stabilized syllability is reflecting what is a sensor and a fundamental physical definition that was solidified by functionality, not by representations with letters or even with words, by the universal evolution to get 10 to the minus 36 seconds. Again, the stabilization of R2. And so cause and effect is one of these things where it's like the chronology that we have to get in the right order is not like even at the order of 1 billion years. It's just like, 14.5 billion years. And again, that's our locality, right? Our entire logical structure is bounded, for sure. But what is the chronology of cause and effect? Literally the words, right? Now we have effect, right? Just again, asking very simple questions of dichotomies you've been presented your whole life. Hey, does this make sense? A lot of times it does. A lot of times it's out of order, but it still makes sense. Just pointing out anything. Is movement an effect? Fundamental theorem of physics. Viscosity resists inertia. Direct iteration. Again, all of our things are in motion. Everything has resistance. There are other things that slows down. Your tendency is to slow down. Not all momentum is conserved universally, but as an individual object, you decrease in motion. You go roll a ball, it's going to tend to stop moving. Or again, to limit its motion, or at least its like physical displacement, its range. Right? All rhythmic motion degenerates into vibration, vibration being the limit of motion. Resistance limits tendency. Just in all contexts, if you tend to do something and there's resistance, there's a limitation. Sensorality is the limitation of tendency. Natural definition, direct iteration. Worth emphasis, again, speciality is the tendency. Now you've noticed on the screen a couple times I've put speciality differentiates, and we even dropped the tendency. Again, we have to iterate and refine this entire definition until it's axiomatic. Sensorality is tension tendency. What is censorship to tension? What is limitation to sensation? Sensorality is the sensation of censorship. Natural definition, direct iteration, emphasizing that's a triple iteration of the word sensor, S-E-N-S-O-R. Sensorality is I jumped ahead. That step comes up. Okay. Yeah, I think I jumped ahead, but we get to a triple iteration of sensor directly. But sensorality is the sensation of censorship. Sensation does not have censor spelled out explicitly, but then censorship with a C has there's two S's directly iterated. That should be very apparent now. Censorship with a C contains censor with an S. So once we get our motivation conceptually, it shows this fundamental differentiation of sensorality. Sensorality satiates censorship. Sensate, satiate. Sensorality satiates spatiality. Direct iteration. Sensorality satiates speciality. Direct iteration. Is satiation stale? Speciation, satiation. Is speciation specialization? What is speciation to citation? Is private special? Are private parts special parts? Nice. Is a port a part? What is absorption to stabilization? Sensorality is stabilizationality. Natural definition, direct iteration. Is vibration stable? Is movement stable? What is stabilization to sterilization? Sensorality is sterilizationality. Natural definition, direct iteration. Sterilization sanitizes. Direct iteration. Restating the fundamental theorem of physics, chronology is unique. Just emphasizing the evolution of physical systems is unique. You can't go back, you can't go into the past. Reversibility does not exist. Time changes. Direct iteration. Does derivation limit generality? Is a derivative general? Is precision specific? Volume is traffic. Natural definition. Sensorality is trafficality. Natural definition, direct iteration. Another one of these linguistic presentations worth emphasizing. Traffic, people in a car driving down the street, no K. Drug trafficking with a K. Why does that happen linguistically? But our spelling is just traffic, like people driving on the street. What is focus to rhythm? Is focus systematic? Sensorality is systematicality, dropping the sys from systematic. Natural definition, direct iteration. Are stems stable? Sensorality stems from sensation. Censorship stems from sensation. What is worship to censorship? Sensorality censors censorship. So that's the triple direct iteration. I jumped ahead, but sensorality, censor, and then censors. Again, that's kind of like the natural presentation of the SEN-SOR that you see out in the wild that we've asserted is wrong. But that is a direct iteration of just the word censor, SEN-SOR, 3 times. Sensorality censors censorship. Direct iteration. Sensorality is bigotry, intolerance. Natural definition, direct iteration, emphasizing it's one of these things. It's like, right, are you a bigot? Well, right, are you a bigot? No, I'm not a bigot. Are you intolerant of bigotry? Are you intolerant of intolerance? Does that make you intolerant? So how you get this triple iteration of the same word, but it conceptually progresses. That's what sensorality censors censorship. It's still just not specific enough to give us a definition. But we're right there. That is a triple iteration of the same word, but conceptual progress. Sensorality senses bigotry. What is bigotry to agony? Is bigotry algorithmic? Direct iteration. What is bigotry to idolatry? What is idolatry to adultery? What is a stem to a step? Direct iteration. What is a log to a stem? I've hit that before. Sensorality is goaliality. Like a goalie, just generalized, we iterate the E to an A. Natural definition, direct iteration. A goalie is a gatekeeper. Natural definition, slang emphasis, goalkeeper, gatekeeper. But people will say the term goalie, people will say goalkeeper, gatekeeper, direct iteration. Censorship is goalkeeping. Direct iteration. Sensorality moves the goalkeeper's posts. All right, the phrasing, they keep moving the goalpost, goalkeeper. Sensorality moves the goalkeeper's posts. Direct iteration. Emphasizing the linguistic form move. All right, we have this dichotomy, logically, physically, directly, personally. What's the difference between movement and motion? There's emotion, that's definitely some consistency, but fundamentally, physically, both feel appropriate a lot of the time. But we have the word move, right? Move, movement. Mote, motion. Again, M-O-T-E. Sensorality, E-motes. What is motion to emotion? Sensorality is emotality, right? Like emoji, emoting. Sensorality is emodality. Natural definition, direct iteration. Emotions are vibrations. Motions are movements. Because again, vibration, fundamentally, physically, the limitation of motion, emotion, it's just a direct iteration. Moves are motions. He's making moves, he's got motion. Movement is discrete, motion is continuous. So there's another kind of intuitive thing. Again, rhythmic motion is smooth. Motion, kind of the sounding, the sh, the softening, sounds smooth. Motion is smooth, movement is discrete. Sensorality dials duality, direct iteration. What is duality to mutuality? What is momentum to location? Sensorality is mass, velocity, movement, potential. Natural definition, direct iteration. Literally just plugging in mass, velocity, momentum, right? Momentum, energy. Mass times velocity, you can drop the times. Sensorality is mass, velocity, momentum, operative words from momentum, movement, potential, directly energy. Is dynamic mechanical? Is mechanical technical? Is technical terminal? Fundamental theorem of linguistics, definitions are dynamic. Again, everything's general relativity. Everything is effectively, logically what people would call slang. You just have high frequency of use and it renormalized by experience. That's why you can literally have E equals mc squared and people say that's energy and it's a statement of momentum because it doesn't matter, right? The actual quantities are consistent, like the equations are fine, but the conceptualization of what you're articulating is directly wrong. But then it's like you don't need to know how a TV's built to change the channel. But definitions change. And so there's just what we call fundamental physical ontology is just the most stabilized, the most insulated linguistic forms associated to meaning, again, renormalized by experience, right? I'm going into physics, I'm going to do work. Work requires movement. I'm going to go into the office and do work. It's the same thing. And so definitions are dynamic. The entire logical structure that we're iterating that you live in is culture, is slang, it's skibbity toilet, right? And it's just refinement and systems tending to optimal efficiency. Is dichotomy dynamic? Sensorality is the definition of dichotomy. Natural definition, direct iteration. What is dichotomy to dichotomonisticality? Again, dichotomy, this fundamental. Okay, what is dichotomy? Again, this fundamental stability of two, kind of inverse, like this natural, you look at one thing, there's two sides to every story or two sides to every coin. It's kind of like the functional definition of dichotomy. Dichotomonisticality is taking two things that represent the same thing and like forcing that same thing out. Two things, dichotomy, monisticality, monistic, one thing, ality. The kind of like the generalization of dichotomy, the two representations of one thing generalized. And then we also had that step a while ago where we just said dichotomy or cotomality is charge. Again, it's still this unresolved physical intuition where we're still just progressing our definition. Again, this analysis process is well defined. The conceptualization is completely resolved. What is dichotomonisticality to demonstrability? Is dichotomy dramatic? Is charge static? Does static discharge? Is vibration static? What is consistency to competency? Is competence competitive? Right? Competency, compete. Another one of these base pairs worth pointing out on a direct personal level. Competence never struck me as the word compete, and it's directly the word compete. Sensorality competes with competence, direct iteration. Is connection rhythmic? Sensorality is an open mind. Natural definition, direct iteration. Sensorality keeps an open mind, direct iteration. Is odor open? Direct iteration. Sensorality is the odor of doom. What does fate smell like? Sensorality is mood odor. Natural definition, direct iteration. Sensorality stores odor. Direct iteration. Sensorality is beyond a reasonable doubt. Natural definition, direct iteration. What is inkling to inclination? Sensorality declines. Sensorality is declinationality. Natural definition, direct iteration. What is declination to decimation? What is decimation to vibration? Logic is consistent. semantics are consistent. Again, this complete building from sound formalized into a syllable, syllables formalized into word, word being limited and all physical iteration being limited by 7 to 8, which is one more than 6, 7. But again, just showing this uniqueness and containment and progression is what a complete iteration is. What is sensorality? And we just have to articulate and prove and then reduce all of these analytical tools. Is equilibrium consistent? What is equilibrium to momentum? Is logic algorithmic? Direct iteration, we've definitely hit that before. What is logic to energy? Right? What is logic to movement potential? Does meaning move? Sensorality is a mean move. Natural definition, direct iteration. What is logic to dichotomy? Striving is aspirational. What is aspiration to perspiration? What is perspiration to perspective? What is conviction to liability? What is convention to conviction? Sensorality senses filtration. Direct iteration. Sensing is filtering. Sensation is filtration. Are filters tilted? Is filtered censored? Sensorality appreciates centralization. What is centralization to censorshipality? Sensorality is front and center. Natural definition, direct iteration. What is front to chance? Is font fashionable? Sensorality is fashionability. Natural definition, direct iteration. Sensorality is permeable. Sensorality is permeability. Natural definition, direct iteration. Filtration permeates. What is permeability to malleability? Is permeable malleable? Is permeable permissible? I feel like we've hit that directly before. What is permissibility to synchronicity? What is synchronicity to simplicity? Permissible is adequate. Natural definition, permissibility passes. Does absorption leach? Leaching is attaching. So this felt like a point to point out my own spelling. Spelled attaching wrong. I put a T, A-T-T-A-T-C-A. I just, in this natural progression, felt like the thing to do. Looked it up, it was definitely wrong, so pointing that out. Leaching is attaching. Connection is attachment. Sensorality is attachmentality. Does attack attach? What is attachment to attention? Sensorality is an attachment. Natural definition, direct iteration. That was the step where the T jumped out at me. It's like you write the word and then you you literally kind of think about it, or you go to write the word again, not even think about it, and it just feels wrong immediately. And it's just some sort of natural progression again of this iteration on a direct personal level. Attach, detach. Sensorality is detachment. Natural definition. And then I just have detach kind of listed out. Again, D, the fourth letter, the number 4, and then E, A, E. Again, our fundamental E and A are inverses geometrically, certainly. That has to pair to something phonetically. And then the letter H is the 8th letter. And so that's where this question at the beginning, you're presented at different points in time that letters have spellings, and then just immediately feels like, again, range to base, output to input, wrong chronology big time. Because it's just you have, again, less syllability builds to more syllability. So if you have more letters, and then to define one sound or one letter, it's just that doesn't make any sense. It's immediately kind of just wrong chronology. And so just pointing that out, what is A to H? Again, the geometric letters and then the sounds. What is A to 8? Again, 8 spelled with an E, but the phonetic preserved is the sound A. The difference between 3 and 8 is 5. The difference between E and A is I. Pointing that out, and then again you get English speakers out of Ireland and England that say I, kind of just as like affirmation, I. How is H spelled? But just more generally, do letters have spellings? Does that make any sense chronologically? I don't think so. What is a letter? A shape representing a sound, right? Are letters fundamental? No. Syllables are the fundamental unit. What is a letter to a syllable? Again, you can have more than one letter in the same, representing the same syllability, and then elementality, right? You can have one letter, a G or an H, or even like lowercase to uppercase that occupies more space or the same amount of space precisely and exactly as one letter. What is letterability to syllability? Are spellings lettered? Right? Kind of because you have spelling, and then what is spelling? Again, the ordering of syllability is spelling, and that's this physical, empirical sound that we're representing, and then lettering is lettering, putting letters to that sound. And so, are spellings lettered? That seems to be a direct yes statement. What is censoring to lettering? Sensorality is a sense of letter. Natural definition, direct iteration. Chance is likelihood. Sensorality is likelihood. What is likelihood to liability? Emphasizing the li in like, li-hood, and then liability. It's the same syllability, li. What is likelihood to liability? Sensorality is a chance of censorship. Sensorality senses chance. Direct iteration. Sensorality is a chance of shame. Natural definition, direct iteration. What is regret to shame? Right? Is regret a chance of shame? Just kind of popped up. Sensorality traces chance. Direct iteration. Tracing is tracking. On this one, I just have C, S, and K, kind of again tracing to tracking. Again, sensorality with a C versus sensorality with an S. And then naturally we have this phonetic, again, attack to attach. What is this iteration of C, S, and K? C to S, that's what we've been talking about kind of like the whole time. Then we also have this iteration C to K, when C is the K, representing the sound that's harsh or sharp or something. You get what I'm saying. Sensorality attaches a tracker. Direct iteration, is a tracker a sensor? Tracing is outlining. So again, just progressing through our analysis, at this point again, this pairing of is 7 even, is 11 even, do letters have spellings? It's just this overall logical mathematical relationship of a function of base to range, input to output. You have to have a consistency, but that consistency contains inversion physically and linguistically. So that's just what we're working through. Again, we're just progressing through our analysis. We just need some simple conceptualization that will again give us the motivation to switch this, like a letter, a word order, and then the description is immediately apparent. What is a sensor? And it's one of these word forms that we've already iterated like 100 times. We just have to get the motivation to do so. That is the proof, because that limits the linguistics, the letters, and that's what we reduce to, hey, this is what a sensor is naturally. Again, is my microwave a sensor? Is my microwave an air conditioner? Is my fridge a microwave? Like we have these random simple associations to functionality, but the words themselves are like super general, right? Air conditioner, refrigerator. Like where does the fridge part even come from? But regardless, we have definiteness within this syllability. That is what we are establishing is a definition. By definitions, definitions are definite. My rights continue to be violated profoundly and extensively. I say it in every video because I don't know what else to say. I'm just asking and begging for a little bit of money to eat properly, to sleep properly, and to work. My health is destroyed. My properties is destroyed. I've been seeking asylum. The violations and the crime is so profound and direct. Why can't there be one decent person on this planet? There isn't. to my estate, every charge yesterday, no one cares. That's what I have for right now. Thank you for watching. See you on the next one.